Story 1. I was just like you. If I can get over it, then so can you. No, we are not the same, and saying that only downplays my problems rather than helps. But obviously, if I say that I am now the bad person, people can be difficult. Story 2. Everything happens for a reason. Like, okay, what was the reason for my whole life falling apart then? Story 3. I know exactly how you feel because when I went through difficulties, they proceeded to talk about their situation instead of listening to mine. I got so annoyed with a friend who constantly did that when I needed to talk that I finally said, "That doesn't actually make me feel better." She told me she would talk to me another time because I was unpleasant to talk to at the moment. Stop comparing your problems to other people's problems. Just listen. Story 4. When my friend died of an overdose and I expressed being upset because she was young, just turned 25, everyone kept telling me how it was bound to happen eventually due to her lifestyle. That did not make me feel better at all. Story 5. Everything will work out. It will all be okay. Yes, it will eventually work out. But more often than not, when I am stressing, I am stressed because it is me who has to work things out, or I will be severely impacted until someone else works things out. It is not me worrying over nothing. It is me worrying about how and when things will work out and who will be responsible. My mom says things like this constantly, and it feels invalidating. Story 6. My niece came out to her mother. Her supportive response was, "Love the sinner, not the sin. Thanks for making it all about burning in hell." Story 7. I was once told, "I have learned a lot about how to bounce back from failure from you." It was supposed to be in a "you are resilient and will be okay, you always are" type of way, but at the time all I heard was "you lose a lot, but at least you lose well." Story 8. I saw this thing and they are working on a cure. I will send you the article. Thanks, but it is not true. It is always early research indicates. It is fascinating, but research is a long way from any treatment, about 30 years away. Story 9. It is part of God's plan. Well, he can go away with that plan that causes so much suffering every day. Story 10. I was given the opportunity to have an appointment with my general practitioner surgery mental health officer because I have been struggling significantly with executive dysfunction. The first appointment went something like this. Him. What is the problem? Me. I am struggling with executive dysfunction. Him. What is that? Me. It is when one cannot do everyday tasks, such as housekeeping, cooking, and personal hygiene. Him. Why cannot you do those things? Me. If I knew that, I would not have this problem. Him. Then just do them anyway. It went like that for 20 minutes. It only ended because I lost my temper and stormed out. At the next appointment, he said I should consider anger management. I told him I do not need anger management. I need people to stop upsetting me. Story 11. This too shall pass. What does not kill you will make you stronger. Ha! It might drive me insane. Sometimes a silent hug is what you need. Story 12. You are a strong person. You are resilient. You will be okay. Meanwhile, my life is falling apart. The same people who go defense readiness condition 1 if they get whole milk instead of oat milk in their coffee. Story 13. It will be okay. How? I need to know how it will be okay. I need a plan. Something, anything besides, it will be okay. Story 14. During pregnancy, especially near the end, people often ask, "Is the baby here yet?" The truth is, the baby will come when they are ready. Of course, they will come when they are ready, but that does not change how poorly I feel. Story 15. You are sad and anxious about this. I went through a difficult experience and came out fine. Don't worry. Thanks, that did not help me at all. Story 16. I understand what you are going through. If someone truly understands and has had a similar experience, it is different and acceptable. However, when a person genuinely has no clue and says it just because they are annoyed and frustrated, it can be very upsetting. Story 17. You are so strong. You will get through this. I know I will get through this, Brenda, but right now I am fighting the very real urge to book a one-way flight to Romania, trek into the Carpathian Mountains, and just surrender myself to the bears I keep seeing on TikTok. Like, here you go, Babes, emotionally seasoned, slightly crunchy. Please chew responsibly. Story 18. I have heard a lot of, remember that you have a lot going for you, when I am depressed. I understand what they are saying, but that is like saying, why are you depressed when you have so many reasons not to be depressed? Okay, but that does not invalidate the reasons I do have. Story 19. If you think positively, things get better. Just thinking of sunshine and rainbows will not improve being broke. I can feel miserable and still work hard to make things happen. Story 20. I have social anxiety. The number of times I get told, everyone gets anxious sometimes, is overwhelming. Your attention deficit hyperactivity disorder is a gift. It makes you creative. That is not my experience. Story 21. Nobody is coming to save you, my mom said multiple times in a single conversation. Expressing the importance of showing up for yourself and being the agent of change in your own life is good. But when I am feeling really hopeless, by the third or fourth time my brain just translates it into you are alone. Story 22. Anything religious. I do not believe in your religion, so first of all, I take no comfort from what you said. Second, I am not only upset about the original problem but also irritated at being proselytized to. Story 23. You know that thing where someone says, yeah, people who can't gain weight just aren't eating enough. Even though they're not one of these people? I am, and I'm sick of it. I ate so much that I reached a point where I would vomit the food I forced myself to eat. Then, whenever I decide that I don't want to do that anymore, they say, see, he really doesn't want to eat. Imagine having a history of vomiting because of how much food you ate, and some know-it-all decides they know you better than you know yourself and says, bruh, eat more. Story 24. I had a medical episode a few days ago in a very public place. After I regained consciousness, I called an ambulance. Some first aid staff from a children's center rushed over, heard me talking to the paramedics, and immediately said, oh, no, you don't need an ambulance. You'll be fine. My daughter has the same condition. Then another person added, so does my sister. This isn't a real emergency. I understand. Your cousin's sister's dog has the same condition. I hear that all the time, but it impacts everyone differently, so how about you just be quiet? You're not comforting me. You're making it harder for me to get the medical care I need right now. Story 25. My dad does not believe I have a heart condition, so he always tells me that I am fine and it is nothing to worry about. Sorry, Dad, but I have already had about 3 heart surgeries and will need more. It is not getting any better. Story 26. Stay positive. Don't be sad. Don't be upset. My mother told me this right after I told her about my cancer diagnosis. I didn't get mad at her, but I did let her know that I am going to feel however I want to feel. Thank you very much. When you have just been informed that you have a health condition that could take your life, you have every right to be sad, mad, worried, and whatever other negative emotions you are inclined to feel. Of course, there are times when you need to put on a brave face, but definitely not in those initial moments of receiving the horrible news. I told her that if she expected me to have open communication with her about my trials and tribulations, for once in my life she was going to need to be okay with my negative emotions and not scold me for not being cheerful at all times. To my surprise, she received all of this pretty well and actually did a good job of not throwing toxic positivity at me. Story 27. There is somebody out there for everyone. No, you are a neurotypical person who could find your ideal partner outside any pub at closing time. I am a person with a mental disability living in poverty, and your attempts at reassuring me only remind me of how different and broken I am compared to everyone else. Story 28. Jesus loves you. Put your faith in him and others. When I checked myself into our local hospital because I was suicidal, I was admitted and unable to leave. I ended up stuck in a small room with a nurse who would not stop talking about Jesus and God and how much I am loved, despite me repeatedly asking her to stop. It definitely made me feel about 1,000 times worse and trapped on top of it. Story 29. My grandma was the greatest source of love in my life. When she died, it devastated me more than I thought it would, and I knew it would be awful. Most of my family is Christian. Nearly everyone came up to me and said something like, "You will be with her again someday." Then they usually changed the subject, often to how Donald Trump was going to make things great. This was when he was running for president the first time. Every time they said that, it was a harsh reminder that I will never see her again. Even if there is a heaven where she and I have a guaranteed spot, that would still mean possibly decades until I get to see her again. So they were directly dismissing my grief, even within their own beliefs. Story 30. I know how you feel. I am a bit tired too. I have chronic fatigue syndrome. While being tired is unpleasant for everyone, I am pretty sure being a bit tired once in a while does not compare to not remembering what it feels like to wake up rested and refreshed. Story 31. You will be fine. No, your friend is telling you that they are not going to be fine. Acknowledge why they are feeling that way and talk it through. Finish by making it clear that you will be there to support them. Story 32. When people say, it'll happen when you least expect it, referring to dating, I don't know why it bothers me so much. I know there is no ill intent. Story 33. Have you tried yoga, going for a walk, listening to music, or taking a bubble bath? No, it never once occurred to me to try these extremely obvious everyday activities. Story 34. My sister is currently dealing with her husband, who is 75 years old and suffered an almost complete mental breakdown a year ago. Numerous therapists of various specialties, ketamine therapy, and 2 rounds of electroconvulsive therapy have only mildly alleviated the anxiety that affects him. People often ask her if she is taking care of herself. We understand that this question is an effort to express sympathy for how hard this must be, not only for him but for her as well. Nevertheless, the question is upsetting. It implies that she is responsible for taking care of both him and herself. A better question would be, do you have support? And what can I do to help? Story 35. I am going to be there for you. If I can help you in any way, just tell me. No, you will not. When I actually ask for help, you will have an excuse not to help me. Story 36. When other parents tell me, I do not care what my children do as long as they are happy. It is a nice non-judgmental attitude, but it is a cliche and not at all comforting to me because my children are not happy. They are adults struggling with adult problems such as losing a job, financial strain, and chronic health conditions. Story 37. When you are hosting a funeral for someone you love and are devastated, people try to relate by telling you about the people they lost. My logical brain understands that they are kindly trying to resonate and let me know that others are sympathetic and I am not alone in my grief. But my emotional brain feels like I have to carry my current fresh grief and pile theirs on top, as if the world just got a little more awful and they are emphasizing how much worse it is because their loved ones are gone too. Story 38. These responses remind me of something my dad used to say when I complained to him. I just hate when bad things happen to good people. So infuriating. Story 39. Don't let it bother you. If you could just not let it bother me, it would not be bothering me. Also, life is not fair. Yes, that is the problem. You are just repeating the problem in a tone and delivery that suggests you think it is helpful. Story 40. You are so strong whenever you are not extremely emotional, screaming, or crying over something. Clearly, otherwise, you are handling it well, or it is not affecting you at all if you are not acting like that. Story 41. As someone with a disability being told I am an inspiration, that is great for you and all, but what is my alternative really? Especially as someone who does not believe in religion, should I sit and wait to die while being upset with my lot in life? Story 42. It's not your fault that you were let go of your job. It's the economy. The number of times I heard that when I was laid off from my previous job, I just wanted to slap people in the face and say, yes, I know that, but it doesn't make me feel any better because I know that if I had started at least 1 year earlier, it wouldn't have been me. Story 43. Can I do a physical one? People like to hug. I do not like contact with people. They think it is empathy, but you are making it worse and giving me anxiety. There are about 8 people in the world I would consent to being touched by. Story 44. I work in the creative field and I got rejected from an art show. My artist friend said, "You just have to do better next time." He didn't even see the pieces I submitted to judge whether my artwork was good enough to be in the show. He hadn't seen my serious portfolio in a while, so I was particularly upset. Meanwhile, the last time I saw his portfolio, he was presenting the same art he made a decade ago. He has given up on showcasing his work anywhere except a few places on social media, which he barely updates. Story 45. I could never deal with what you are dealing with as if I personally chose to be in this position. I do not have a choice. Story 46. Don't worry, XYZ did not get married until they were 40 or 50 years old. It is never too late. Context. I am 30 years old and have been single for all but 2 months of my life. That sole relationship and subsequent breakup happened at 29 and left me very hurt. So I hear that, and I know people mean well, but I cannot help but think, oh, phenomenal, so maybe I just have to wait alone for 20 more years and hope I am not too arthritic to enjoy it when I finally get intimate. Thanks. I do not want to be bitter because I know that is not attractive. It is just frustrating. I am sick of being told I just have to be patient. I have been patient. How much more patient do I have to be? Story 47. Feel better soon. No matter how many times I explain, they do not understand that chronic illnesses mean it never gets better. Story 48. You look like you have lost weight. You saw me last week, and we were eating Little Debbie snacks together. Story 49. When they promise me I will find a partner someday, it makes me feel patronized. I am not stupid. I know you do not know what the future holds any more than I do. Also, it sends the message that you think remaining single is such an awful outcome that you cannot even bring yourself to acknowledge that possibility. What would actually help me is offering to be my emergency contact, driving me home from surgery, or just listening and validating that it is difficult. Not platitudes and empty promises. Story 50. My distant relative has seizures, so I understand. No, you do not. But I did not mean you, after saying something inappropriate about people who share my disabilities. One of my coworkers insisted that adult attention deficit hyperactivity disorder was not real and that adults who took medication were drug addicts. Except me when I reminded him that I have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and it did not magically go away on my 18th birthday. I am apparently real. Story 51. I was an anxious teenager who became a relatively well-adjusted adult. One common phrase I heard was, "Oh, everyone feels like that sometimes." I understand that people were trying to normalize my struggles so I would not feel like a freak, but I ended up feeling more like a freak. If everyone feels this way sometimes, then I must be uniquely bad at handling it since I was the only one struggling so much. Another phrase I heard when I was anxious about adult independence was, "Do not worry, nobody knows what we are doing even now that we are grown-ups." Again, this was an attempt to normalize my feelings, to ease the pressure, and to reassure me that there was no hidden plan I was missing. However, the message I took from it at the time was that this feeling of being left behind would never go away. I am medicated now, in case you were wondering. Story 52. When I lost my daughter, people said 2 phrases that made it worse. She is in a better place, and I know how you feel. If you have not lost a child, you definitely do not. Story 53. Most of these are exactly what I tell myself and what I like to hear from others. I have half of this stuff written on my wall for inspiration. Story 54. Most of it, honestly, it just never helps. I know this. When my mom died, too many people said, "She is at peace now with Jesus." Like that makes it okay that she was sick for 15 years and finally could not keep going. Oh, and she was an atheist, so that was just a kick in the gut every time I heard it. Story 55. They are in a better place. No, they are not, and even if they were, I reject that idea. They should still be here, in this plane of existence, alive and well, enjoying time with their loved ones. Not decaying in a wooden box or reduced to a small amount of charred bone dust. Story 56. Wow, that is terrible it happened to you, but I am doing great. Let me tell you all about my amazing life. Story 57. When people make the situation about themselves, claiming they went through something similar or worse, it is not the time to try to one-up someone during a difficult time. Just be a friend and be there to listen and support. Story 58. If someone takes the time to care and listen to me about whatever the problem is, I typically appreciate that energy, even if it is not expressed in a way that I would offer it. People are usually just doing their best. For example, I talked to a friend recently who spent about an hour sharing his relationship problems, which is something he often does. When I tried to give a supportive response by saying that many people would want to date him, he reacted negatively and said that was something his father would say. I will ignore him next time he wants to hang out because of that behavior. He is kind of difficult to people, and that might be why he has bad luck with women. Maybe I should have just told him that. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.